Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Mohammed Ahmad and thank you for joining on the second episode. We have Mahnoor Raza with us to talk about the US college culture today. Mahnoor has been studying at University of Rochester for a year now and she is majoring in English literature and political science. Assalamu alaikum Mahnoor. Thank you for
Walaikum
being here.
Assalam. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So we're gonna talk to Mahnoor about her experience as a political science and English literature major, and especially her experience studying at a US college during this pandemic with this online learning mode and the challenges she had to face with a specific style of learning. Manu, first of all, a very generic question: why did you choose US for your undergrad? I mean, if you look onto the college applications process, US college applications are chaotic. We've done that. How did you get through all of the application cycle, and how did you get to this place where you are right now?
Okay, so I could give you the generic answer to this generic question, that the answer you give the visa interview officer, but I feel like that'd be less interesting.
Mm,
Honestly, I you were right in saying that the college admissions process is chaotic, and it was made more chaotic by the fact that I applied everywhere in terms of the country. So I applied in Pakistan. I also applied in the US, the UK, Turkey, Canada. And what it came down to was the finances. So Turkey, Canada, and the UK were out of the running immediately because they weren't giving enough financial aid. So
mm,
it came down to Pakistani universities and Rochester. And so I really had to weigh the pros and cons of each. And because Rochester was giving me a lot of financial aid, I decided to go with that option. I also think there's something to be said about the quality of education and like the undergraduate experience in general, because not to say that the Pakistani undergraduate experience is, fulfilling, but I think it's just a very different experience overall. And it's the opportunities that you have access to, things like internships and research opportunities, and your proximity to expertise, and the networking opportunities that you get as a result. The diversity on campus is unmatched in the US. In fact, one of the reasons why I chose Rochester in particular was because we have a huge international student population. And I feel like the sort of interpersonal interaction that you get on a US college campus, I don't think you're going to get that sort of interaction after college at any point. Just that level of exposure. And yeah, I think it also came down to flexibility. I was only 18 and I didn't want to be tied down to a particular field. And I think the way that the American higher education system is structured gives you so much room for experimentation, and you're encouraged to go outside of your comfort zone and take classes that you never would have even considered taking before. And yeah, I liked that I wasn't restricted to my area of study, and that was just really exciting for me. So I feel
right.
like those are probably a few reasons why.
So what I get from your answer is that you were looking at the financial aspects of college, as well as a dynamic, a full-fledged college experience with every possible opportunity that you could get. And obviously, yes, US has a lot to offer. So how has your experience been so far with this online year? Obviously, online learning isn't very fulfilling, but still you were exposed to the instructors, your fellow students. You've had, I mean, you must have had quite a lot of interactions with different students. And because US classroom is not just limited to the students of your level, you must have had students from the junior level, the senior level, the sophomore year. So how has your first year been at University of Rochester and with the major that you chose?
Yeah. So I did 2 semesters online, and that my first semester was pretty turbulent just because a lot of changes were happening in my personal life. And also, I think when you start college, it takes you some time to adjust to how fast-paced and overwhelming college can be, because um, it's unlike anything you've ever experienced in high school. So I had to learn how to prioritize and manage my time and like plan for things weeks in advance. But it was, yeah, it was a learning curve. But once I got the hang of it, my first 2 semesters were pretty great academically. I haven't had any bad encounters with professors, so I'm very grateful for that. Maybe it's because I I'm a little neurotic about making lists and weighing pros and cons. So I had to go on every single professor's rate my professors, which is a website where students rate their professors.
Right.
But yeah, I've had a really great experience with all of the teachers that I've had, the classmates that I've had, and I've actually enjoyed most of my classes, which was a new feeling. Um, I think the one thing that I struggled with being online was adjusting to hybrid classes, because I felt I felt pretty comfortable in classes that were completely online, where everyone else was online as well. So everyone was on, the same playing field. But whenever I had hybrid classes, and I had a couple of those in both semesters, it just felt really weird being like zooming in, um, being on this huge screen like the Wizard of Oz or something, and not being able to see the students who you were in a class with, and not really being able to see the professor properly either, because there was a camera overhead, but you couldn't like zoom in or anything. So yeah, that was a little strange. And then time management, no, sorry, the time difference was really crazy. We were like 9 hours ahead of the US. So I had to stay up till 3 a.m. to attend classes and stuff. But again, I'm sort of a night owl, so I I've gotten really used to not waking up in the morning. So I'm gonna have to adjust to that life again. But yeah, most of it was really great academically. I think socially it wasn't as exciting, because obviously you're not meeting people in person, and you're only really meeting them for like a couple of hours at most in class. And reaching out to people on social media it isn't as comfortable.
Hmm.
So yeah, I can't wait to be on campus to
I
experience that
see.
side of the college
So,
experience.
I understand how difficult these time differences would have been for you because I remember we've had similar interactions. Kay used to tell me you're up till 3 a.m. for an exam, late
Yeah.
night for classes. But looking at the brighter side, one of the reasons that you just told that you chose US was that you wanted to take different subjects because US college culture allows you to opt for subjects that you might, I mean, unrelated to your major maybe. So did you get a chance to pick up such unrelated subjects? Hmm? For
Yeah.
those.
And those classes were actually some of my favorite classes. I took an anthropology class my first semester, and I didn't know anything about anthropology, but that class was so much fun. And it was also probably one of the only hybrid classes where I haven't had major anxiety, um, because it was just that interactive. And there was also an online student like recitation at the end of the week, and it was just really fun because I got to learn about cultures and concepts that I had never even like thought about.
Interesting.
And I think about those things. Like one of my favorite topics that we studied was about how language and time and space are connected, and how being from like speaking a different language affects your perception of time and space, which was
That
so
is super
cool.
interesting. Yeah.
It's so much fun. Um, yeah, so anthropology was really fun. And then I took a digital media studies class, which I wasn't excited for. I took it for this prerequisite that we have, but that was hands down one of my favorite classes that I've taken in 2 semesters. We studied Black Mirror and influencer culture and all sorts of really fun stuff. So yeah, and then I also had to take things like math and data analysis, which I struggled a bit with, but I can appreciate them objectively.
Right. I mean, all of these interesting courses, like the space and time thing, I think they were enough to compensate for that maths or the calculus courses that you had to take.
Yeah.
Manu, why political science and English literature?
Ooh, okay. I have always known that I've wanted to study English literature.
Hmm.
So that one was a no-brainer. I've known since like the 7th grade. Um, and then I knew that I wanted to study political science once I got to A levels. But the two sort of combine the two things that matter the most to me personally. Um, the intersection of politics and art really, really excite me. And I think everything is political, like literally everything is political. So I'm really interested in like the structural changes that we can bring. Um, and I think I pursue that through political science because it's a mix of things like current affairs and history and philosophy and economics, and also data analysis and stuff like that. But but then English literature, I think a lot of people in Pakistan, um, especially the generation above us, they they often ask me why I want to get a degree in English literature because they're like, just pick up a book. It's the same
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
And I think that line of thinking is exactly why we need people to pursue it, and just pursue art in general, because we really need to start valuing art again in this country, I feel like. And art, that culture has started declining in recent years. So yeah, it just brings together all of the things I love. And I really believe in the power of art when it comes to politics and political change. Um, and yeah, so I think to summarize, I I like to learn about the structural changes that we can bring through political science, but then um, the societal change that we need. I think art is the most potent of tools for that because it brings people together and it mobilizes people and gets them to think. So yeah,
It's
that's
really
my answer.
interesting that how you've linked politics, political science to art and culture, and how you want to bring these things back to Pakistan. And US is, I believe, one of the best choices because it is a politically rich, artistically, or yeah, culturally rich country. And I'm glad that you're thinking on these lines of bringing art, culture, politics is already here. Yeah, art and culture back to Pakistan. So
I mean,
Manur,
we
yeah, yeah,
sorry,
yeah. No, no,
sorry for
continue.
interrupting.
Please,
I'm
please
just
continue. I was moving on to the next question. I want you to add on to this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that we do have art and
Hmm.
culture.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
just don't value it the same way anymore, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from highbrow literature to Ehrweike dramas, they're all art,
Yeah.
and they're all deeply political, whether we realize it or not. So it's just about bringing that awareness and encouraging people to, um, bring,
Valuing
I
them.
don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
value them. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So, Manur, a lot of students uh, who apply to the US are at times confused and they see guidance from different counselors regarding their application procedures. And I'm sure most of the students watching us would also be interested in applying to the US. So, are there any, because you've been through this application procedure, you're now actually there studying and you'll be joining on campus next this semester, inshallah, the coming semester. So, is there any tip for the or tips for the students seeking admissions in US colleges? How should they go about their application procedures and what should they be actually be? I mean, they should be careful about while applying to these colleges.
Right. So I could talk about this all day,
Uh-huh.
but I think it's really important to have an open mind when you're applying to US colleges, um, because I know a lot of people aim for Harvard and Yale and like the Ivies and equivalents, places like NYU. And it's good to have those aspirations. And I definitely had those aspirations as well. But it's it's also not like you don't have to go to an Ivy to go to a good school in the US. And you owe it to yourself to explore other options and not limit yourself to those top 10 colleges because it's really hard to get in. And more on that later. But I just think that you should research as many options as you can, and also don't just go based on like name recognition, but also look at things like campus culture and what are how is the department that you're applying to ranked instead of how is the school as a whole ranked, or what opportunities are these schools known for, how big is the school, where is it located, what's the student to teacher ratio, what sort of student organizations are there on campus, which side does it lean on politically. All of these things I think are really, really important when you're thinking about colleges, because um, like for example, my dream schools were Yale and U Chicago, and I'm so glad I didn't get into U Chicago now, because I know for a fact that the student culture there would have been so bad for me. And again, I think I was just going off of brand recognition and location, but there were so many other factors to consider, and I'd urge everyone applying to consider those factors as well. Um, yeah, and then I'd also just say don't be don't be afraid to do things that terrify you, because like when you're applying and um, once you've been accepted and you're thinking about going, but also once you're on campus, I think the things that terrify you are the things that you get most growth and like fulfillment out of. Um, and another tip that I'd have is, another tip that I have is doing your research um, on from like a variety of different sources. So look at Reddit, look at YouTube, um, look at websites like College Confidential and stuff, and also talk to multiple different people. So talk to current students, um, talk to advisors at that school, talk to your own school advisor if you have one. Also sign up for free advising with USCFP. They can often give you some really great insight, and they can introduce you to colleges you hadn't considered before. So yeah, just keep an open mind and apply. It doesn't hurt to apply.
Very insightful, because what we mostly do is we just go for the ranking, the recognition. I mean, the political affiliations, the student culture, all of these are very, very important things which I ignore.
Diversity.
And yeah, and most of the students ignore. So it's important to research, number one, for the students, and then obviously hear out all kinds of opinions. Talk to
Mm-hmm.
people, talk to your fellow students, talk to your seniors, and get in contact with your advisors. That's very, very important. And have an open mind. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mahnoor, now since you'll be joining University of Rochester on campus for the first time in your sophomore year and the third semester, that is very, very exciting. And I know you're anxious. I know it's stressful as well. It's very, very overwhelming as well. So I've already explained your feelings, but I still want to ask, how do you feel about that? And how excited are you to finally join university on campus?
Well, I feel like some of the feelings that you explained there, they're true, but I feel
Hmm.
like you were also projecting on me, because I know that you're feeling many of the same things as well. Yeah, I'm excited and I'm really nervous. Um, I actually just got an email like 30 minutes before we did this, um, about how masks are back on campus, so
Hmm.
everyone's going to be masked at all times. So that's happening. And I think post COVID, I mean, I know that COVID isn't over, but I'm going out into the world for the first time ever since COVID started. And I don't think I remember what it's like to like talk to people. anymore. I don't know if I remember what it's like to be in an actual classroom. So we'll see. I think everyone is pretty much in the same boat. So I'm just hoping for the best. But it's gonna be an adventure, and I'm really excited about living on campus. I'm excited about meeting my suite mates. I'm so excited for student organizations to come back, and for lots of lots of the classes that I'm taking are classes that fulfill requirements that I have, but are also so fun. I'm taking a moral philosophy class, so I'm excited to have my mind blown.
Hmm.
And I'm taking this class called Wizards, Magic, and Fantasy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm scared I'm gonna have to drop it because it's an additional class, but
Ah,
we're
yeah.
gonna be studying Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Kafka and Margaret Atwood and just a bunch of other like German writers and stuff. So I'm excited about that. I'm taking a class called Comic Books, and this one's it's a global Black speculative fiction class. So I feel like we're going to be talking about race um, and like race issues. So that's exciting. But we're going to be reading Miss Marvel. I don't know if you're familiar, but she's a Pakistani superhero. I think I'm not familiar either, so
Mhm.
it's fine. And we're reading Watchmen, and I actually started reading Watchmen a while ago, but I never finished it. So I'm excited about getting into that. So yeah, I'm just really hyped about the classes and the
I mean,
people.
this is
But
very exciting.
so exciting.
Someone bring me these books so I can finally have something to look forward to as well. But yeah, so I mean, this thing about masks that you were talking about, I remember having a conversation with you, and you were like, I need to get vaccinated I because nobody is going to be wearing masks on campus, and I'll be the odd one out. So you can
Yeah.
finally enjoy this convenience now. Yeah, people will be wearing these
Yeah.
masks. Manur, I think that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for being here, and it was amazing talking to you. Congratulations on making it to Rochester, on getting this far, and
Me too.
I'm sure you'll have a great experience over there in the US as well. Good luck for all of that. Stay in contact with me, and I feel like I'm wishing you a farewell or a goodbye, maybe. Like in okay, whatever. So yeah, thank you again for being here. I will
This is not
definitely
goodbye.
yeah, this is not a goodbye. Yeah. I will definitely want to have you in another episode as well once you get there to talk about the US college campus life, yeah, in detail.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this episode as well. Thank you so much for joining on the second episode of the podcast. This is Mohammed Ahmad signing off. I'll see you guys in the next one. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Bye.